Hello everyone, today we'll be learning how to use a Minecraft panel, and today we'll be mainly focusing on Pterodactyl, which is one of the most popular Minecraft hosting panels. So let's get started. Your panel may look a little different depending on what you're using, or if it has a blueprint. For example, here this one does, as you can see. If it has a theme, but as you can see here, it is a Pterodactyl panel. Here we're currently at home, where you can see the list of your servers. We have velocity, lobby, and survival. Today we'll be using survival. As you can see here, this is the console. Over here are the statistics. You usually get your IP address up here or up here depending on the layout of your panel, but most of them have a very similar framework. Today we'll be mainly focusing on the terminal and the files. There are other features such as databases, schedules, users, backups, network, startup, settings, activity, more, and account. We'll start with the terminal. The terminal is basically the console. Here you can type in commands, as you can see here. You can do something like stop lit 2341. Now I've been made a server operator. So if I was to go back in game. So now if we go back in game and join survival, I should be opt. We can do something like slash game mode creative. As you can see, typing in commands in our terminal or console, this is really actually affect the in-game status. And so as you can see, the commands typed in here affect the in-game or the server. So we can do something like time set night. And so if you were to go back in game, you can see that it is nighttime now. And if I was to do something like slash time set day, that command actually gets logged back onto console. And you can see here, let's set the time to 1000, which is just day, value for the time for day. Over here is the IP address, although you have to be careful because it's not the same for every single panel. It may look a little different. It could be up here in some cases, but you'll mainly find it in the terminal. You'll also find uptime, CPU load, memory, disk, network inbound, network outbound. This is the main structure for the Pterodactyl panel. Next, we'll look at files. Here you'll have everything about the server itself. There are some files such as version history, captcha, spigot.yml. Those are just for additional settings for the server. Today we'll be mainly focusing on plugins. Here, as you can see, we don't have any plugins currently, so we'll be getting some plugins today. If you go back to terminal, type in version, it will give you the server version. As you can see, we're running paper 1.21.4. Now keep that in mind because when you come here to a site like Moderate, you could even go to Spigot MC or even Paper MC to their plugins. As you can see here. Make sure whenever you're buying or getting a plugin, it's from a trusted source such as Moderate, Spigot, Paper, or Hanger, I believe. So the first plugin we'll be getting is via version. What this essentially does is it allows newer clients to join older server versions. Next, you want to make sure to go to versions. Then we'll go with releases. Platform will be paper because that's what our server is running on. Now, as you can see here, it's listed 1.8 to 1.21.11, which means that any server version within that limit is actually applicable. In other words, you can use this plugin for those server versions. Now, do be careful because on some older server versions, such as 1.8, it's extremely hard to find ones that actually work, even if it says that the plugin does work. So you will have to play around and try to find the right server. So you'll have to play around, try and find the right plugin version for your server version. But we can go ahead and download this because it supports paper and the server version because 1.21.4 is within 1.8 to 1.21.11. So we'll go ahead and download paper. Once you've downloaded the plugin, go ahead and go back to your panel, go to files, and then this is extremely important. You want to always make sure that you place your plugin in the plugins folder. If you place it anywhere else in the container, it will not work. If you place it in logs, it will not work. The plugins folder is designed to pick up on the plugins that you have uploaded. So once in the plugins folder, always make sure of this. Go ahead and click upload. Here we'll be choosing via version. You can either drag it in and upload it, or you can click on it and click open. Once it's been uploaded, you'll have to go back to the terminal and you'll have to click on restarting the server for the plugin to actually work, as it cannot be recognized until you have restarted the server. But before we do that, I'll be adding some more plugins. There are multiple ways to get a plugin, and here you can see we'll be getting EssentialsX from essentialsx.net. And then we're going to go ahead and click Stable Build. We're going to download EssentialsX because it's a required plugin for any of these to work, such as add-ons. We're going to go ahead and get EssentialsX, also get Essentials Spawn. And the thing is, EssentialsX is a required plugin for Essentials Spawn or any of these recommended add-ons or mode add-ons. There are plugins out there that need dependencies. For example, for Essentials Spawn to work, you need EssentialsX. So we're going to go ahead and select those two. We're going to go ahead and upload these two by dragging them and dropping them. These are pretty much the core plugins that every single server should have, essentials for essential stuff such as homes. Now, once you've got all your plugins, you want to go ahead, go to terminal, and you want to restart the server so it actually picks up on the plugins. Once the server has fully restarted and is running, get an input from the terminal that has something such as server marked as running and done with the amount that it took for it to restart or start back up again. Now, if we go back in game, you can do /pl or /plugins, and it will actually show you all the recognized plugins here, such as Better RTP Essentials, Essential Spawn. Now, one thing to keep in mind, if a plugin has been uploaded correctly and does not show up here, it means that it was not recognized, and you will likely have to try a different version, or it is missing a dependency. Now, if a plugin was to show up here and was red, it means a variety of things, but it also means that the plugin does not work. And one of the possibilities is that you don't have the dependency for it. For example, if we did and have Essentials and only had Essential Spawn, then Essential Spawn would be red. Same thing for World Guard, as it requires World Edit, and Fast Analysis World Edit can actually replace World Edit for World Guard. So it's showing up as green. And so if we do something like /gmc, which is actually a essentials command, or if we're to do /wand, you can see that the plugins actually work. Now that's an extremely simple overview on how to use plugins. Next, we'll be looking at some of the other stuff. Next, we'll be touching on users. As you can see here, we have users on this panel, but their emails are all blurred for reasons. There should be a button somewhere that says add user or new user. Once you click it, you will need to enter the email address of the user that you want to add to this server. Keep that in mind, I mentioned server, not panel. Next, you want to decide on the permissions that they should have, and then you'll simply do invite user. Although keep in mind, they will also need an account on the panel itself. For example, you can see here, account. Some panels might actually give you the ability to download plugins from the panel itself. As you can see here, you can choose what server type you will need it for, what version of the server, and you can even choose the providers. That will be all for today's video. Thank you for watching and see you guys next time.